Show with guest star and host Mort Sahl. Mort's guests tonight are Geraldine Brooks, Felicia Farr, Suzy Parker, Inger Stevens, Susan Strasberg, Joe Wiggins, Chips Henderson with the NBC Orchestra, and yours truly, Hugh Dow. And now here's the star of our show, Mort Sahl.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Hugh. We have a kind of a different show for you tonight, and keep those cards and letters coming because this is your show. And in answer to all the complaints I've had tonight, I'm going to give politics a rest. And I thought maybe we'd talk about the man-woman equation, and that about sizes up all our problems because I don't believe in alien nations and alien groups and minority groups and majority groups. So I thought maybe girls should have a chance to answer, and I tried it with one girl a night, but she still felt oppressed, you. So I thought that maybe we'd get a few on. I thought maybe we'd get 5, and they could talk about men, and we could state the rebuttal. And this isn't going to be like David Susskind because I don't have any facts. But but my brother was in the service, and he knows a lot about girls. And he's backstage, or at least he talks a lot, and that's good enough for me. So, you know, my values. But Hugh, I'm really going to need you tonight, and I'd appreciate it if we could change our geographical positions. Would you join me here? Because the girls are going to be over here. I'm going to need you as a technical advisor. Want to come over here? Good deal, because it's going to be wild. Thank you very much. A little walking music. And while I'm mentioning it here, how did you like the chairs this week? Did you dig these?
You can pretty good? See through them, I noticed.
A couple of people asked me about these. They do go all the way around, although that's not my perspective, 360 degrees. But these chairs are from Laverne on East 57th here in Manhattan. And people who sit in glass chairs shouldn't throw this show, and that's why I said it. So, so anyway, there we are. Those are the glass chairs. For those of you who have been wondering about our glass chairs, you can go back to the big movie now. Although I think I know what it's about. It's about a dude who doesn't want to carry a gun because there's been enough killing in this town. And that's the way I feel about New York. Now, so we settle that. Now,
you're a brave man, Mort, with, you know, 5 to 2, I think. Your assumption, either that you or I or both together will be equal to this, I think is charming. We will never come out of it alive.
Well, everybody's always theorizing, you know, so I think we'll get started. And that's one thing I like about this show, is that it always gets started. Sometimes it gets started after 1, and sometimes after 12th grade, but it eventually gets started. I always operate, I thought we graduated to this level because we've already attacked the government and we've attacked all other institutions, so I think we ought to go after the others, although I think we're going to be on the defensive largely. But we'll get to the first of our guests, who has now become one of our regular gang, as Gary would say if he was here, but he's filling in for me on his own show. We had to get her tonight because she's leaving tomorrow for Chicago to star at the O'Hare Inn in The Voice of the Turtle, Miss Inger Stevens. Yes, that's right. We're dividing the groups. There's the boys' gym and the girls' gym. And the dances will be held in the girls' gym because it's more competitive.
Gee, you look lovely.
Thank you very much.
I thought I'd soften her up with you know, flattery.
Okay,
I noticed that Mort is very nicely dressed this evening. I guess you listened to what Henry Morgan said.
I want to give people what they want. And Henry Morgan had a clip-on bow tie left over from the New York State Police. So I hardly thought, say, good evening, Henry. I see you're as ill-clad as ever. But I don't want to do that kind of thing. I'll get that kind of a reputation as being caustic. You mean I have it already? I inherited that reputation from the audience. It's cumulative from night to night. You get credits in this audience or academic tenure or something. Inger, what... I asked you a question about our main subject tonight, may I?
Go right ahead.
What do you dislike most about men?
Well...
My basic premise is that you might dislike something about us, but maybe you don't.
First of all, let me start by saying that I don't really basically dislike men. And as a matter of fact, I like them very much. And I don't like to generalize, but there's a specific type of man that I dislike very much. And
maybe we have him here tonight.
It's the man that is always looking for the eternal virgin and spends most of his life trying to, before marriage and after marriage, trying to seduce every girl in sight. And I happen to resent that very much, and I know many girls do. And that's the type of man I dislike.
Do you know anybody like that?
I think that's as mythical as the unicorn, but I mean...
I know differently.
Well, that's all right. We have the attorney for the defense.
I'm speaking only for women now. You understand?
No, that was
Yeah, all right.
that was a fair question. I hope it was a fair answer, but it was a fair question. I'd like to know about that. I think that girls. It has to do with a phrase I keep using over and over. I guess people are tired of about they're having the courage of our convictions, but just as we look adventurous in that area, with girls, you have nothing to lose but your chains. That's supposed to be a professional male attitude. Girls have another attitude, and it's always, that I've run into. It was, when I was going to school in California, they were, and I mean college. Some people try to cover up a prison term that way. But it was very similar, as a matter of fact. They always, if you ever went out on a first date with a girl, they're very suspicious. And back at the University of California, there's a parking area where people go up, and it's all roped off, and it's 25 cents to get in, and guys in white coats and flashlights. It's like a drive-in movie, and people go up there and park with girls after dates. It's a ritual in college, and it's called Grizzly Peak. And when you go up there, most guys, you might as well try, on the way home. You have to remember, this is about, 23, 24 years of age. Or if you've been in the service and that's interrupted your academic career, 44, 45. So then you grab a left and just go up the hill. You might as well try. And as soon as it got dark, most girls, there was a traditional attitude. They'd say, why are you driving up this hill? So, of course, if you had an American car, you couldn't do anything. You'd have to say, forgive me. That's my sense of... If you had a foreign car, you could say, because it's there, and you could keep driving. But if you did, if you did go up, but the thing is this, the thing is their attitude, not mine with the car. If you did go up there, I'm not about to go and sit and neck with some guy I just went out with. How about marriage? Well, I can be packed in 15 minutes. You agree with that attitude? Do you think?
Well, you say you might as well try was the phrase that you just used.
Yeah.
And all right, so you want to try to try to get them on top of a hill or in a 25-cent parking lot or whatever it is, but to do whatever it is you want to do. I don't know, but you never try talking. Why don't you try talking first?
I don't know. Intellectuals call it relating, don't they? Well, I never talk because I have nothing to say. I'm just overt.
Well, men as a whole, you talk an awful lot, Mort. Let's face it.
Yes, that's why it's time to let the local stations state my case for me. On a network are doing a terrific job. And now back to the coffee pool. We, local stations, watch out for them. But what do we got? About 100? How many have we got, you? 180, 190?
Around 180, yeah.
Around 180, and I would say times 100 listeners each will be all right. Look at Los Angeles. Well, I think it's time to even the odds here, although I think we're outnumbered anyway. But I'm going to do it by introducing a young lady whom Christian Dior called the most beautiful woman in the world. Her new film is The Interns from Columbia, but she's appearing as herself tonight, Miss Suzy Parker, ladies. You guys are really inspired tonight. I want equal time on a male night. Suzy, you know Miss Stevens?
Yes.
Miss Parker?
We're ready for you.
Are you? Are you ready from behind the panel? Suzy, what do you dislike about men most?
Well, why are you asking it backwards? Why don't you...
Ask what you like first?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm the attorney for the defense tonight. That's what I mean. Well, I'll ask the first one, if you want to state the first one.
What do I like the most?
Yeah, what do you
about
like
men?
most?
The fact that very often they like women better than anything else in the whole world.
Well, I guess if put to you as a direct question, you'd have to say that. I don't, you know. That's after.
Nobody told me to say that.
When you get through with model planes, like, yeah, I'm sure that's it. Well, that's all right. That's good. That's a good answer. Well, what do you dislike most?
When they like their dog better.
That's up until they're 12. You know, that's like the open the airplane wings.
Oh,
is
no,
that true?
with Englishmen it's all the time, from the beginning.
What's the international view, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're taught that, I've been taught since I was this high that American men really don't know what they're doing in approaching girls. So you wouldn't say that we're vastly inferior? You wouldn't agree with that?
No.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no.
Any American men who like their dogs better than...
Well, sure, in the South, you know, when they have the, what is that? That terrible form of hound dog that goes shooting with them. That's the kind of...
Yeah, we had a
like Artie
rifle
Shaw.
shot last night. Artie Shaw, that's right.
I think some excuse must be found for the man who may prefer his dog to one specific woman. But if he prefers his dog to all women, he's in trouble.
That's the first sign. And when he talks to his horse, that's the second sign. Then you know you're in trouble.
I'm hoping...
You know an awful lot of rich men. They have horses and dogs. A lot of diversion.
How do you know it's not a cowboy I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Cowboys are traditionally lonely, though, aren't they? I mean, they kind of accept their fate. And we don't. We keep... Well, we're lonely, too, but we keep fighting it. That's the advantage of a metropolitan area. But it's that thing of calling up somebody else for dinner every night, and it's kind of casual if you do it night by night, but if you put all the nights together, it's a desperate search. So it depends on your perspective.
I'm kind of hoping, Mort, that as this wears on and whatever onslaught they have planned over there when the panel gets its full strength will melt and transform itself into a desire to mother us. That's our only hope.
We all want to do that.
You don't?
I said we all do, really. Oh, deep
no.
down, come on, we do too.
Is that true?
Well, I do.
And that's the worst. That's the worst thing that can happen. I think you're right that every woman has that desire,
Sure.
and once she accomplishes it, it's the most terrible thing that can happen to her. Because if a man permits that, she
Oh,
has
well,
the
if
whole
that's
thing's
the
gone down
only
the
thing in
drain.
their relationship, of course it's terrible. But you want a man to be your friend and your brother and whatever other, and also sometimes you want to mother him. And sometimes you want him to be your father, so that's only fair that you should be his mother now and then.
We'll be back with a whole new concept in television programming. Don't go away. I want to say a word about a friendship here before we get away from this. I became so frustrated last year, and that's what life is, higher and higher cycles of frustration. I don't think anybody will disagree with that here tonight. In fact, I picked the audience that way. That I made a record that had nothing to do with politics, and some of the people saw this. That was the last LP I made, which was called On Relationships. And this is all about girls. In fact, the girl wrote the notes on the back. And I made my case in the... I made my case on the record, of course, pointing out that girls... I don't know if they know what friendship means. I suspect that they don't, because a friend is somebody who comes over to hold your hand when you're going to jump out the window at 3:30 in the morning. I don't know any girl who's available for that. What they call friendship is be everything else. Go to lunch with me and open doors and light cigarettes, but don't make a pass. That's what they mean. They mean be limited. That's what they really mean, isn't it?
Oh, now, just a minute more.
Well, I'm asking. I have an open mind.
Well, I don't mean that when I say friendship. I don't mean that I don't have to be a man's friend just to keep him from jumping out the window, for heaven's sake.
No, I mean if you're depressed or somebody, that's
Well,
part of
that's
it.
friendship, all right, but you can have dinner and you can be friends. Don't you think there are a lot of married people that are friends?
Well, I don't think it should get in the way of the marriage, but... It's time to meet our next guest, because I'm starting to destroy marriage. This young lady is soon to be seen in, well, I know her for a long time, because we did the Actors Studio benefit together, and we helped raise money at the Waldorf for the Actors Studio, and before one of its founders left. Anyway, we'll get to that later. We may never get to it. However, she's soon to be seen in the 20th Century Fox production, The Adventures of a Young Man, done by who? Jerry Walt, my old buddy Jerry Walt. And this is Miss Susan Strasberg. Hello.
First of all, it's not true. My best friend in the whole world is a man.
He is?
He is.
He's your friend.
He's my friend. But he wouldn't want me for anything else, and I wouldn't want him for anything else.
He wouldn't.
I haven't asked him lately. I don't know.
Sometimes it's not the, well, let me put it this way. Sometimes when I think a girl is attractive, if I can't involve her any other way, I kind of ask for her help, and she thinks she's being my friend. You know, help me across the street, I may fall in a manhole.
Or help you to pay your lunch check when you take her to lunch or something.
Take a girl to lunch this week. It's Sisterhood Week. Your best friend is a man, and that's it, right?
No, that's not it, but that's part of it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, what do you like most about men, Susan?
I think the basic thing that I like the most about men is, I mean, they're men.
Given the opportunity.
That's a...
No. I mean the service, Skitch. I mean being in the Army and all that sports and everything. But having a dog.
And the thing that I think that I dislike the most about men is that so many men who think they're men are really boys.
And how would you...
That's a valid point. That's a very valid point.
I didn't say all men, I said some men.
And I think one of the... I appear to be deserting you, old friend.
Carry
but
on.
I'm not. One of the things... This is a very valid point.
alone, it's all right.
One of the dismal things about that fact, and it is a fact that you bring up, is that in addition to that being true that some men think they're men and they're only boys, there is a trait that is boyish that is lionized in this country as being manly.
Yes, that's
And this,
true.
I refer to the hard-edged guy who has to constantly prove to men and women that he's a man.
That's right.
By being tough and being kind of mean to women and this sort of thing. And this is a sad thing.
I mean, a lot of men here think that by ordering or yelling, they're going to get what they want. And it's true that I like a man who's definite. I think, American men don't always have enough guts, but on the other hand, I've never been convinced to do anything I wouldn't do otherwise by having somebody, hit me over the head.
You mean you fight back initially, but we try to overcome that?
No.
Don't attack girls, but if they indicate that they want to be attacked, then be prepared to, that is verbally is what
No,
I'm
but
getting.
men are I don't understand why men are so defensive all the time. I mean, you started out the show by already assuming that you were going to disagree with me. Maybe we're going to agree. It'd be terrible,
Yeah,
possibly.
geez, we might get along. I hadn't planned that. No, So I have a, well, back to the world of commercialism. You girls don't know what pressure is.
Yeah, but I'm going to go back there, Mort.
Yes, I know of you. I'm relieving you.
But
Frontline troops.
I just want to not lose one thing that
go.
Susan said that I would think we must take issue with in conscience. She suggested that American men did not have as much guts, I take it, as men in other sections of the world. Is that
Well, I've been living in Italy, so...
You are.
I've been
That's
brought
no
up in my-
excuse. We can take that up later by your leave. Excuse me, Mort. Can you make out by yourself here?
Yeah, I want to
I
talk
hope
to the people who are fortunate enough to have families here while you're...
I hope you're still alive when I come back.
I'll watch your interests here at the fort. We have an... I wanted to show the folks one. I'm glad you had one with you tonight. For all the folks out there, from all of us locked in here. Here's an unusual graduation. A lot of people are graduating. Or if they didn't pass, you can give it to them anyway. An unusual graduation or Father's Day gift that's useful too, and that in itself is unusual. This is Lifelight, the flashlight that never needs batteries. And to tell us about it is Hugh Downs.
Thanks.
Well, I got it apart, and as soon as Hugh gets back here, I'm going to put it back together. Sometimes instead of going out with girls, I stay home and put things together like this and take watches apart. I mean, it's kind of lonely, but it's safe. Now, where did you say you were living, Susan? In Italy?
In Italy, yeah.
Listen, don't the guys pinch girls when they walk by crowded areas in Italy?
Sometimes. It depends if you're pinchable or not.
In other words, it's a compliment.
Yeah, because I know a lot of girls who've gone to Italy and are very, insulted that they don't get pinched. Then they get worried. At least if they get pinched, they know. There's a funny thing there that men treat you as if you're a woman. Here, men... It's almost as if they're afraid of you. I don't know if it's maybe just in this business, but in Europe, there's nothing... Here, there's always an assumption that you're a woman and there's something wrong with it. There, you're a woman and it's great,
Let's see.
What men, Susan? What men here don't treat women like women?
No, in the sense that men feel much more competitive here towards women.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no, if you stay in your own area, we can't compete. That's the thing, you know.
But I wouldn't want to compete with you.
Well, there are a few who do, you know, and they pick them up for dinner, and they get in the car and say, don't you think the president's doing a wonderful job? What about the Rivers and Harbors bill in Congress,
Yeah.
Mr.
Listen,
Dirks?
I couldn't wear that sweater as well as you do. I wouldn't try and go into that area.
Well, you could compete in that area.
But that's not competing. I mean, a lot of people, you know, feel, say women talk too much. There should be certain areas where women belong, in the kitchen, at home, and then they go out and they feel they should talk with other men, because only with other men can they discuss certain things, and that a woman should only talk about certain things. And usually they only really feel that way because if a woman is disagreeing. If she's agreeing, then she can talk about anything she wants. If she's disagreeing, she should stay in the kitchen.
Is that... A woman's place is in the stove. And now on with the Chapman report. Ladies and gentlemen, next member of we use the word panel? No, I don't like panelists. I have another lovely and talented young lady from Hollywood, California, and oh so bright, Miss Felicia Farr, ladies and gentlemen. Felicia, I have to break in with the local stations because they have no other way to express themselves except on NBC from 11:15 to 1. But first I want to ask you our questions of the evening, which seem to be, what do you like most about men, first?
I like the romantic men, first of all. I think that's what Inga was talking about before anyway. The lack of romance, Mort.
The lack of romance? Well, that's all right. Well, then what do you dislike most? Because now you're separating already. See, that's what I was hoping for. What do you dislike most about men?
I dislike possessiveness most. And the paternal instinct.
Do we have an instinct in that direction? I was fighting that maternal instinct. Is that true? Is that...
The paternal instinct.
Yeah, is there a paternal instinct?
Well, I think so, yes.
There is?
Well, maybe all men don't possess
I
it.
think most men are lying when they say that's what motivates them, but...
Local affiliate's going to let her get away with that. All right, do a little research at home. We'll be back after this word from your local Badinsky there. Yes, well, here we are with Leave It to the Girls. Eloise McElhone is on her way in now. Remember that show? Henry Morgan used to have a horn there, and as opposed to our show where he speaks up without warning us. But anyway, we'll get back to that. Where were we, Felicia? We're talking about our classic question for the evening. The paternal instinct in men?
Mm-hmm.
You recognize that? There's a paternal instinct in men?
You don't even know about it.
No, I thought we were all, well, traditionally we're supposed to be gun shy, but it's not true. Guys really want to get married. It's just that girls girls usually talk you out of it. I don't think consciously, but...
Talk you out of getting married?
Well, I mean, I want them to make good, but they're all sort of cadets. I look upon them as candidates.
I'm glad you're not hostile.
No matter how good a relationship is, you say, well, gee, she can't do anything wrong, and they always manage to. It's wonderful if you wait long enough.
Yeah, but somebody that you marry and that you love despite their faults, not in other words, that's discarding someone because they have faults. You'll wind up discarding everybody.
That means my standards are high, right?
Yeah, well, having high standards is all right as long as they're not too high.
Well, back to reality. Let's start looking for lady astronauts.
I'm intrigued by this paternal instinct business because I take it you mean by paternal instinct the feeling that a father has for his own offspring, and that feeling transferred to a woman that he might pretend to be in love with puts it in a kind of a sad light.
Well, you were talking about the maternal instinct that women so often show. Is that what you were saying?
Sure, all the time.
Well, I think that the reverse is true, too. I think that there is a paternal instinct. And along with it goes this awful possessive thing, where they want to know where you've been, what you've been doing, and that's like being married. And I really, I'm opposed.
Well, see, I don't know what you mean by possessive, Felicia, but does that include jealousy? That's basic interest plus jealousy. What did you do all day, and why were you there? It's like the two sides. Does that include jealousy? Possessive people are jealous, right?
Yes, I think so. I think that goes.
And if people are not jealous, does that mean they're disinterested?
No, I don't believe that's true.
Not necessarily.
No.
All right. We'll find out a little bit more. We'll complete our panel, and then we'll really open this up.
Yes.
Listen,
Mort, I want to ask permission to carry on my arguments like this because I look at my microphone and marshal up all kinds of ideas, and as soon as I look over at that array of pulchritude, the whole idea goes out the window.
I know.
I'm going to fight like this.
I know it looks like. I know that we look invalid to you people out there in television land, but this happened to me recently. I did a story for. It's some kind of premise here. I did a story for Look magazine on loneliness in Hollywood, and these photographers kept shooting it at night because the streets are deserted in Los Angeles, and they kept calling me out of parties every night so that I could go out and be lonely. So that's all right. That should be coming your way soon if the magazine is with us, or if any magazines are with us. Anyway, at this point, I want to complete our group here so that we have all our armed critics on the panel by presenting a Broadway and Hollywood actress who was an Emmy nominee this year, Miss Geraldine Brooks. Well, I think before I start arguing with you, I'll say hello.
Hello, Mort.
How are you?
Very fine.
We're in the wrong town. 2 weeks in another town, right?
Yeah.
We'll see you on the other coast. I'm trying to find out what's between Los Angeles and New York. That's what all the show folks say. There's nothing in between. The president, by the way, wants you to encourage European tourists to go cross-country with a list of recommended eating places. I'm going to talk about that on the news. Jerry, did you get our classic questions tonight?
I got your classic question, and one thing I'm not crazy about, men, you in particular, is that...
Yeah?
When someone is the moderator of a panel and has 5 ladies on the panel and asks the same question and saves me for last so everything else is taken up. That's my not so crazy about you.
Oh,
So I made a list.
It's because we're in alphabetical order. No, did you make a list?
Yes, certainly. I wrote everything. I checked over what everybody else had said.
You have the advantage of historical perspective, right? You can benefit by the mistakes of...
You ready?
Go. Carry
What
on.
am I to say? Like or
Anywhere you want to go. You can start with dislikes if you want to. Or you can start with likes.
Now, why do you assume that I want to start with dislikes? What does that mean?
Well, it's like algebra. Two pluses are two minuses are a plus. No, never mind. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Carry on.
Dislikes.
My education.
No, all right. I'm not crazy about men who make doormats of themselves.
What does that mean?
Lovely.
That means that they are very servile, that they're not so crazy about themselves, therefore why should we be so crazy about them? And also, the other hand, though, the ones who are always telling us how marvelous they are, because I would prefer to find out for myself. And I don't usually be that kind of man.
I'm going to make a note of that.
If you like that one. Let's see. Men who feel that material things are the be-all and end-all of life. I think that's...
Who are acquisitive.
Yes. I think that's really kind of... I find it sad, rather than... I don't dislike them. I feel sorry for them, but not
You
sorry
can't
enough
respect
to
them.
want to spend a great deal of time with them. No, I don't respect them. No. And I think they miss the most important things. The married men who pass themselves off as single, of course. We're all so tired of that, aren't we?
Wait a minute. What about girls who knowingly get involved with married men?
Well, that's those particular girls' problems. We're not talking about that.
He
We're
is
talking about
their
men.
problem.
Yes.
That's a wonderful moment in your life when you say to a girl, if you have a problem, I'd like to help you with it. What is your problem? And they say you. And then the net falls. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Carry on. Oh, well, I'm not crazy about hearing a man call his wife mommy. I mean, I can understand it if they have children, because then it's natural that they say, say goodnight to mommy and so on to the children. But if they don't have children, I'm not so crazy about it.
What bothers you about that connotation
What
of...
bothers me about that?
connotation of age?
I mean, I will agree, certainly, that all women do have a maternal instinct, and that is part of woman.
Yeah, which they manage to suppress very successfully very often.
Is that
I
what
want to
you
congratulate them all wherever they... No, that's all right. Go ahead.
But as also
No,
has...
hopeful. Listen.
No.
Carry on.
Excuse me. Go ahead. You have more.
No, it's just that certainly that is part of a woman and part of a relationship with a man. I mean, a man has a part of him is he wants to be a child at times, and it has to be complimented and allowed for.
That's true. Each of you has mentioned one or more things about men that you don't like. I think in doing so, you have almost every one of you has said, "I don't like the kind of man who." Well, now this is we can't quarrel with that. Is it implicit in your statements that most men are tainted with these disorders that you? Do you think most men have?
I know one for myself. I said I don't like to generalize, and I don't think any man is like any other man. But I said there's a specific kind of man who has this specific quality that I dislike. I qualified it very well. If you were listening, sir.
I do remember. I had forgotten, but I do remember that you said that. That's right.
And I think that's what we're all, isn't that what we're all saying? I mean, we're not saying that all men are alike, at least I'm not saying that.
No, but the way men are always saying that most women are, you have to generalize and say that, well, a number of men are.
Well, let's not be guilty of what they do, for heaven's sake.
You mean being
just because
objective.
they generalize, we don't have to generalize.
We have to
We have to help
subjective.
them. That's right.
Well, we're not talking about men per se, that we don't like men. We're talking about characteristics.
Yeah.
Things that you don't like about men.
We all like them more than we dislike them.
Oh, yeah, there's a note of hope in this show, I think. It's a friendship club if you just tuned in. It isn't going too good, but it usually doesn't until somebody asks somebody to dance, then they all get together. It's like those gym classes. Jerry, what do you mean, a doormat? What does that mean? How passive a guy are you talking about?
I am talking about a man who is afraid to make any kind of demands. A man who is afraid to really say what he feels. And he goes the other way instead. And does whatever is pleasing to. And I'm sure must be very angry at it at the same time, although he covers it up by being darling and
Many
sweet.
women do the very same thing.
Indeed they do. Indeed they do.
But all of these things could be turned around, couldn't they?
Yes.
No, I don't think all of them.
No?
Most of them, I think.
But submissiveness in a woman is supposed to be the way a
more
woman
natural.
is more supposed to be a woman's natural role. Where in a
Yeah, but
man,
not to be a doormat.
Yeah, but they're too flexible. I think girls are too flexible. They're not only submissive, they're adaptable creatures. You know, they can be starving in a garret with you while you're doing this, or they can marry a used car dealer and reproduce in kind.
That's why we're so marvelous, and you don't seem to realize it.
Well, yeah, I know you're marvelous. I don't know if you're available. That's a whole
Not
other...
me, I mean all of us.
Oh, I really take it. What about asking you the same questions as far as women are concerned, now that we're all out here?
Yeah, go.
You wish?
That's all right.
What do you like most about women and dislike most?
Sexuality, which is insinuated. Perception, intuition, quality of compassion, degree of tenderness, and rejoices in her own gifts, a mystery that is a woman. Not Adam's rib, but just a woman, as opposed to a guy. All the things that I can't do. That's why they're great, you know. I can do all the other things, you know.
Actually, everything you said it can be gorgeously applied to what a woman wants in a man.
Well, here I am, America. It's funny, I would have gone by. You wouldn't have known there. 49 minutes. No, I think, yeah, that's what I would...
What about the dislike?
What do I dislike? What do I dislike? Well, boy, it's really hard to filter this out. I dislike, now you're talking about my own case, you know, because I'm not trying to save everybody. I'm not, that's not what I'm here for, contrary to the complex that may be evident. And it would be a shame if I was crucified on that basis, because that was not my intention. You know, I'm not guilty of the charge. I'm not trying to save everybody, just myself. And the sand is running out of the bottle. But girls have a tendency to compete with me. They don't understand what I'm doing, and they try to do what I do. Now, as I said earlier, they do what they do much better, and I can't touch it. But they try to compete with me, and if they do, I will eventually have to bury them, because I do it for a living. Then they'll be hostile, because I bury them. finding this hard to follow?
Not at all. No, I hope the I think the girls do that because they're probably very much in awe of you and they respect you, and so they want to try to communicate with you on your level, which might be difficult for them, but at least they make an effort. I think it's a compliment to you that they try to do that, and I think you should help them and not resent it.
No.
Yeah, but there's a charm. I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead.
There's a charming, there's a charming way to do it. It's different if a girl says, if you call them and you don't know them, you just call them, and which is what I always do. I always land like a guided missile, because aggression always works. It always does. I mean, you just have to run up to girls and say, who are you? I have to know who you are. And they hate it, but they dig it. I mean, they hate it on the surface. And then the only problem with that, by the way, is that later on, they expect the relationship to be that exciting all the time. After you've been going out with them for 2 months, you can't go over and say, hello. You have to burst through the door and say, who are you? They expect that all the time. And you still don't know who they are, but that's true. But, pardon me? Hello?
Yeah. That's well for a joke, but it's absolutely untrue.
It isn't? It doesn't work? That predatory thing doesn't work?
I mean, this idea that you have that women expect this all the time, it would get terribly boring.
They don't want that excitement. They don't complain about that?
That's not what I call excitement, no.
Well, I'll admit that's not. Well, I think the basic hostility in relationships is always exciting, on opposite sides of the fenders of the automobile, but on the way to the theater or from it. But leaving in separate cars.
Isn't it exciting, leaving in the same car and not being on opposite sides of the field?
Yeah, well, that's reason enough to get married, to have somebody to talk to on the way home,
I'm surprised that you run into that high percentage, apparently, of girls who compete with you on that basis. I recall only one who found out one time, years ago, that I was interested in astronomy, and she came up with an astronomical fact that was quite impressive, and I didn't even know it, and that blew the whole bit. I just didn't know it anymore after that. But that was
tennis.
Only
no, I
happened
think
once.
that's very sweet that you went to that trouble, you see, and I don't think you appreciate it. You resent the fact that she went to the trouble to find out about something that you were interested in. You didn't find out about anything that she was interested in.
Well, that doesn't necessarily follow, my dear. I may have done that. In point of fact, I think you have a point, because at my now advanced age, I don't think it would rock me the way it did then. I was past 19. And at 19, you don't cotton to women coming up with astronomical facts.
Because everybody told you that women are supposed to be dumber than you,
something
right?
like that, yeah.
Right, and you believed it.
Yeah.
You didn't find out for yourself.
So don't you think that a lot of this difficulty stems, what men don't like about women and what women don't like in men, stems from immaturity? Because people are mature. It does not matter if the woman then does not require the so-called the type of excitement of a guy bursting through the door and saying, "Who are you?" Mature people can get along comfortably, and a genuine affection springs up that can take the place of the newness of a thing, because nothing is new. No honeymoon goes on for 20 years, let's face it. It has to be replaced by something more solid and something infinitely better when it really grows right. But immaturity is the cause of all of these difficulties that we've been talking about, it seems to me. And there are an awful lot of immature people around.
Well, I agree with you. However,
I know them all.
in films and plays and so on, all the time you see people always being constantly happy and always going on honeymoons and so on, and you never see this other side of life, really. Our particular society doesn't show it very much.
No, it doesn't. We've been brought up...
And I think it's unfair, and we're brought up to think that we have to have this constant thing happening all the time.
Yeah.
It's very nice to be peaceful and tranquil with somebody. I know that's what I want out of life. I'd like to have a honeymoon, too, of course, now and then.
That doesn't mean that the excitement has to wane.
No,
it merely means
it's a
that the
different
newness...
kind of excitement.
Yeah.
As you get to know each other.
There are always new things in life and new ways of looking at things, and I think a very important trait in a man or a woman is an insatiable curiosity for knowledge, for ways of looking at life and living, the art of living. And that is enormously exciting. And if it's something that you can share, a man and a woman can share, it's not placid and dull.
You brought up a very good point, the art of living. I think people don't know anything about the art of living. They don't know how to be.
Well,
what?
Who are they going to learn it from? That's a...
They have to learn to trust themselves and not worry so much about all the other people.
If you read some of the women's magazines, And their idea of living and a good life with your husband, they give you those quizzes, you know, do you get along with his mother? If not, why? It's yours, it's a terrible marriage. You know, those things. And I read them sometimes, and I think, well, I've never been married, and if that's what I have to live up to, I'm never going to get married. If that's a good marriage, I guess I failed before I started. You know those
magazines?
Yes, those odd type questions they ask.
Wrote one of those.
It's impossible to get them right, you know.
If you've been reading the newspapers lately, you've probably read about some rather famous second shaves. I was on a Staten Island ferry this afternoon doing this, and I think you'll enjoy it. Let's see what happened coast to coast. It happened. And now back to tonight's production, 5 Branded Women. I want to say something. I want to ask you about this, Suzy. I have believed for a long time that women have the scope of a gnat. Now, I don't want to sound cruel or anything, and I can give some illustrations of this, but they don't seem to see the universe. They're looking to, you know, the wrong end of the binoculars. Do you know what I mean?
Draw a gnat for me?
Can I draw a gnat for you?
Are you going to draw a gnat?
He doesn't have the widest perspective. Do you think that's a malicious charge, or do you... I can substantiate.
I'm here to learn this evening. See, I'm listening, and I think you can analyze yourself into the ground, and there's no problem. I mean, where is there a problem? How do men and women compare? In any sense, they don't. There's no difficulty. You see?
There isn't any difficulty.
No, it's
This is just something I
Why
feel
are
for-
we here?
I'm here because
Yeah.
I wanted to listen to all of
You're
you talk this
employing
evening.
one of the favorite weapons, Suzy, right now,
There is
that
no...
women have.
Yeah.
This is a favorite weapon of women, the fact that there is a difference, not only physically, thank heaven, between women and men, but emotionally, a woman does go more by an intuitive approach to life, and a man goes more by an analytical, intellectual approach. And this leads men, I know, to say that they are smarter than women, which in that sense is certainly true. But when you hide behind that fact of your intuitive approach to life and duck a charge like he just made about the narrower perspective,
I'm being feminine.
you're
That's good.
being feminine, which
And
I
that's
don't
very
expect you to
good.
be anything else, but
don't
that
you see-
you get around the charge that way instead of meeting it now.
You are two extremely intelligent men.
Oh, that's
You're
another
very
weapon.
well
I've got. It's flattery.
And do I
Name big
I
trouble.
do.
You're very well known for your comments and your philosophies and everything. And how can little me?
That's the third weapon. This woman is a walking arsenal. Very well done.
I mean, I wouldn't want to compete with you. Own you, yes. But compete with you.
No, you don't want to answer that. Does anyone
Yes.
want to pick up that gauntlet that's flaying down there at this point, that the perspective is narrower than men? I think he hit on something that's true.
Such a ridiculous statement.
You don't agree with that? You don't agree with that, Jerry?
Oh, come on, Mort, don't be ridiculous.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that.
Now, women don't have a perspective.
No, it didn't say that. It's narrow.
They have a narrow perspective. Well, in their own field, they certainly don't. Now, do you expect us to include you and us all in one periscope or whatever it is that you were talking about, this gnat business, which has got so confused?
I think that my terminology is being corrupted here, and
I mean, why a gnat? That's so minuscule an animal. I think it's the most unfair thing to use.
You saw a movie called The Fly?
no, I've been on the wall a lot of the time, but I've
And
known...
this man is reduced to a fly. He's a great scientist and he's working on something terrible happens and he becomes a fly and the wife is about to swat it with a fly swatter. And I'm sure and you wish that I was a gnat, see? You see, because
No, I don't... well, there again, you see, you're really... I'm not that subtle. I'm not that subtle a creature. You know, I can't come up with anything that... You know, I'm not devious at all.
now
I
wait a
think
minute,
women
you're
are.
using my methods. Now, wait a minute.
He just picked something with a narrow perspective, you know. And while it may be slightly overdrawn, the fact remains that he has made a statement that women have less of a perspective than men.
more specific
Men-
about
Yes.
I don't understand what you're talking
You
about.
can.
What? About the kitchen, about the home, about politics, about the world? I don't
About the world.
understand.
I mean,
you have to qualify.
I mean that the women I've known, it's like you're having breakfast, right? Let's get in the kitchen there, which is a neglected area nowadays, and it's great for television commercials, but nobody's there. It's a girls. Well, girls don't do that anymore. They didn't marry a guy to be his maid. Boy, It's a great quote from life. You're having breakfast, right? You're reading a paper and you're saying, well, they're going to send 2 guys to the moon in Project Gemini. And the girl is saying, why don't you put the butter on your toast while it's warm? It'll spread better. And then in an attempt to dramatize her lack of universality, you say, I may be going to the moon. And then she'll say, yeah, but you might not, and then your toast will be hard and you'll be mad at me. That's what I'm talking about, you know.
All right, you've read the paper now. Let's say you have 5 children, and she's gotten them all off to school. She's been up now since 6 o'clock, and you've been lolling around, and the dog brought you the paper, and you know what's happening in the world today, and she hasn't had a chance until you go to work, until all those kids go to school, until all the washing's done in the automatic washer, and until the dishes are done in the automatic dishwasher. Then she can get caught up what's happening. Now, this is just about politics you're discussing. She might be a couple of hours later than you, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't know what's happening.
It seems to me that in that example, that her narrow scope is you.
You mean her interest in me?
Her interest is you. If you're saying that that's narrow, but I mean, if she just set your breakfast in front of you and left you alone.
Well, suppose she didn't even do that. Suppose when he comes down, she's reading the paper and ignoring him completely.
She doesn't
then
have
what?
to read the paper. You're going to tell her what's in it. You see?
Well, I can't share everything with a girl. I know.
Did you say you hated competitive women, and as soon as anyone starts talking to you about something that you are supposedly the expert on, immediately you see this woman as being competitive?
That's not the reason. The reason that it's criticizable at all that women have narrower scope is because it is true that women do manipulate men very often.
Only
And if
because
they're going to do this,
themselves
they
be
must assume the
manipulated.
responsibility of having the scope to manipulate the sex that does the moving stuff of the world.
But you, surely, I mean, a man is not manipulatable unless he is that sort of a man.
We try to give
That sort of a man is some of the men who do the prime movers of the world are men who have been manipulated by women. Mark Antony, Julius Caesar. Cleopatra was a superwoman, I admit, but many of them are like that.
America in 1962. Ahead of every great man on his way to the White House, we'd have to paraphrase it. Behind every great man, there's a woman. Ahead of every great man, there's a woman. I don't think they're satisfied with that. I don't think they're satisfied with the washer and the 5. I have to be something too. You're this, I have to be this. I've heard it more than once.
My daughter commented once on the fact that on the helplessness of men by saying that of me, she said, behind every man there's a woman, but behind you, Daddy, there has to be a whole family. So I probably am manipulated to a certain extent by the entire group, and it behooves all members of that group to have the scope that makes them deserve to manipulate, I think. Case rests.
Yeah, for a moment. We're going to have a message from your local stations.
You can talk.
Mr. Morgan. Well, it's time. We sure do have fun here, and occasionally we'll let the audience in on it. It's time for the news, and I thought I'd get a few late bulletins to you. And we have the ticker here from United Press International, and a couple of tomorrow morning's papers here, with the exception of the Herald Tribune this morning. I thought we'd shop around. But we don't have the St. Louis Post-Dispatch either. By the way, if any of you are wondering about our great seal down here, and that's Latin, for those of you that didn't take Latin, and it says pretty much that all of us work for Scale on The Tonight Show. That's a bit of a means. Anyway, the big headline in the Daily News is it says, JFK turns heat on air union. Now, that has to do with the airline strike, that the flight engineers are thinking about going out. The president urged the flight engineers union to forsake its strike plan. And then, of course, that if he talks them out of that, they have standby unions of other airlines who will go on strike if they don't go. And there's the non-scheduled unions. Anyway, he's working on that. Starting your planes like this, right? Thank you very much. So that's what I like support on this show. The other thing is the president in his press conference today said that he appealed to both Russia and the Republicans for some help. So far, there's been no answer from the Republicans. So anyway, he said that the United States was not planning a surprise attack, so Strategic Air Command is off call, which is kind of reassuring. And now if we get an answer from them, we'll be all right. The 7th Fleet is in Laos, but they have no harbor, so they're circling the island. until they get a bearing. Also, the reporters kept hanging on one question today at the press conference, which was televised, that the president, they wanted to know how he stood with business since he went to Yale and made the speech smoking the peace pipe. As you know, he hasn't made out too well with business. A great deal of this has had to do with Robert Kennedy and the antitrust motions. There's a thing going on in the antitrust division of the Justice Department where businessmen are put in prison. They're sent to jail for 30 days, vice presidents in manacles. And, do you have anything to say to this court? Yes, progress is our most important. And then they go. So then this policy may be pursued by the Kennedy administration of imprisoning businessmen. And I predict that the next businessman they imprison will be George Romney. The market had a little bit of trouble today, too. In fact, it went to an all-time low, and then I had a nightmare about it in which the country, actually, it didn't crash. People are wrong about that. That's just manifesting a panic. It's just that the country was worth a little bit less. So the president then bought it. It's a monopoly board now. It's playing with his brothers there. Proceed to Hyannis and do not take a chance. Hey, also, I thought you'd be interested in the fact that a financier went to Brazil, and that's the headline on the Mirror. They're not interested in the president or Russia or Laos. They don't have room for it. It's Rise and Fall of a Wizard. That's the fellow who went to Brazil. And he says he took a vacation. He called in and told them that that isn't why he went, and he has an open return. But they thought he took a one-way trip. So he took off for Rio. And the last time anybody did this, see, the reason people don't understand this, I just want to analyze this for a second if I can, is because people who usually leave are heads of state. I mean, we accept it when a guy leaves a country. You know, students riot in front of his residence, and then he leaves. And maybe leaves by a Marine helicopter. We help him out. And he gets a home here. The last one who did that was Sigmund Rhee, who left. And I remember at the time that President Eisenhower said, it's a shame that a patriot who spent 84 years leading the Korean people has nothing to show for it. He's leaving with, just these 2 small bags containing all his worldly belongings, which amounted to $22 million at the time. Also, in Franklin, Texas, the Attorney General sent 76 FBI men down to investigate the Billy Saul Estes case to find out what would move a man to shoot himself 9 times in the back. And they're having an economic boom in Franklin, Texas. The signs are all over the street. Welcome FBI agents. You can open an account and we'll extend full credit to you and your family. It's the next best thing to a defense contract of 76. Anyway, that's the news so far. That's about all of it. We're in pretty good shape, as you can see. Hasn't been any panic. If there is, I'll let you know. And right now we're going to wander off again, leaving our familiar trail of lawsuits so we can find our way back, just like cookies along the trail. Don't go away. Here we're back. One Man's America is back on the air. We can't get as far as One Man's Family because there's a resistance. You're all actresses, right?
Right.
Okay.
We're all women.
That's what I want.
Actresses.
Oh, good. I wanted to know what the priority was. All right. I want to ask you something because I've been out with a lot of actresses, and I've kidded about it. And I always kid about the girl who says to me, I want to be an actress, but I mean really, driven. Why? Because I have something to say. What do you have to say? I want to be an actress. Now, I've always felt, and you tell me if I'm wrong, an actress is adored by all the men in the audience. Now, a happily married woman, adjusted, I would say, I will get into the semantics, I would think would be satisfied if one guy, her husband, thinks she's the greatest chick in the world, and that's their secret. That would seem to be enough. Any comments?
That is enough.
The Greek chorus.
That's enough.
Is that enough?
That's enough. Mm-hmm.
Verification?
Verification in terms of being loved by one man, sure, it's enough. But if there is a need for creative expression,
Right.
that has nothing to do with the love of a man. That's quite a whole other field that you're talking about. And it's not because, surely, I'm speaking for myself anyhow. I don't want to be an actress because I want the love of all of the men that I don't know. No, it's a need for expression.
Do you think a woman is less than a complete woman if she can have that need for creative expression, even to the point where it may interfere with her domestic duties and home?
Well, that, of course, is something that she will have to make a decision about.
But they're willing, in my experience, women have been willing to give ground because they bargain. So, well, I can't get married now, and I've really got to work on my career. Guys aren't like that, you know. They want everything. You know, I want the best job, and I want the best girl, and I want, you know, like this. They never bargain. Girls really bargain. It's that, you know, songs my mother taught me.
A woman wants the best life that she can have. I know I do. I would give up being an actress tomorrow. It's something that I happened to fall into when I was relatively young, and I've made a living at it, a fairly good one, and I'm appreciative for that. But if I never acted again, it wouldn't disturb me one bit. As a matter of fact, I think I'd be relieved, because I find being an actress, in the Hollywood sense, a tremendous strain. I don't know how all of you feel about it, but I enjoy doing the work. I hate the things that go with it. I hate having to go out and be seen when people think that it's very important that you have to do that. And I don't like the people that they think you have to go out with, so consequently I don't. That part of being an actress I don't enjoy. The working part of it I enjoy very much, but the other things seem to be much more important somehow.
But that's a question, that's where personal choice enters in. In other words, when you say, I remember when I first went out to Hollywood and they said, well, you have to go out with so-and-so. I said, I don't even know him. And they said, oh, well, go out with him. And I said, but what if I don't even like him?
Well,
I don't even like his acting.
I'm not saying that I do that. As a matter of fact, I don't. And I had a great deal of trouble because of that. I was under contract to a studio for a long time, and they thought I was ridiculous because I wouldn't go out with people I didn't know. I thought I was terribly intelligent. They didn't.
But that's only a temporary thing. In other words, in the long run, I think the only thing that counts is what you do. In other words, what you produce. In other words, what you do on stage.
Children, and if you have happiness with a man, then that's fine. That's what I want. So you're talking to the wrong person, so talk to someone else.
I know what you mean. Sometimes I used to think, well, you know, people are always asking me, what would you do if you married a man who wanted you to give up your career completely? I've been in this business since I was, 13 years old. My family is a theater family. I really haven't known any other life except a theater life. And I think, well, what I need and what I want is a life of my own. But if a man said to me, you must either take me or this, what would you do? And I say, well, any man who loved me and who I loved wouldn't ask me to do that. I don't think.
You're sure?
Well,
I don't think.
I don't think so either. Because surely a man has to have respect for your needs. That's part of love, too.
I mean, I would feel that the man came before the career, except that the work is a part of my life. In other words, if I hadn't been working all these years or was in a different life, then I would be a different person. And assuming that I'd come from a different background, the man might not have liked me. I find a lot of men, by the way, like that. In other words, up to a certain point, they're very impressed with the fact that you're an actress. Sometimes they're a little intimidated. You know, you make more money than they do, and they've got a complex. But apart from that they enjoy the fact that you're an actress, that people look at you or that talk about you, or they can say to their friends, gee, I go out with an actress. Did you see her on television last night?
Yeah, well, those fellows aren't worth the bother,
No, that's right.
frankly.
Felicia?
No, I want you to stay here.
The dilemma of the American male. I don't think he knows what he wants.
Oh, yes, he does.
No, I don't think he does. I think this is a big problem because they talk about the slippers and the pipe and the wife waiting at home with a good dinner, but I think that they have another eye looking at the career girl, the working girl. I don't think they really know. They talk about the Oriental woman, but when they get a woman who is subservient and devoted, I don't think they're really very happy because it doesn't stir their imagination always.
It must be more interesting for a man to have a woman that is not only interested in his interests and their mutual interests, but in some on her own, as he has his own interests. That's, again, something more to build on.
Yeah, but any psychologist, you know, Dr. Brothers, and she's next door. It's just convenient, that's all. Whenever I break down. No, but I'm not kidding. But seriously, any psychologist will tell you, you know, a man is enough universe for a woman. They don't need all that. I mean, that's a dodge. It's just like when they're in charity or political activity. You know, they're interested in ending capital punishment for one guy, and the next day the issue is dead. And a few more guys are dead, too. But they're over the hill, you know.
Well,
Then it's
just
the milk fund.
just a minute ago, you said we have the scope of a gnat, and now you're already trying to make us that.
Right, right.
I'm trying to make you that?
Well, you're
Or say, or
contradicting yourself.
You are.
No, I want you to make the big time. You know, that which is home, I think. I have a strange suspicion, that's it. What about that, Hugh? Is that true?
I think we're in a box right now. We have to
But
be very cautious in how we
I
get out
think
of
that
it.
a lot of people, that has nothing to do with being a career woman or not. If you look at the divorce rates in America, obviously, 99% of those people don't have a career. Those women don't have a career, and they're getting divorced too every day. So that it isn't a question of just women who are competing on executive levels that make problems. The problem is deeper. I don't know what it is, but
If you're talking about a woman who is driven by career, so that it is the single most important element in her life, then farewell marriage.
that's different.
Yeah, I think
that
we're
is
talking
quite
about
different.
all of these things that are trouble-causing, are aberrations of something that can exist normally in our society. It is possible to have a career and a happy marriage in our society. Those that go on the rocks are because something else is wrong. Generally, the immaturity of the one or both parties, I think, is what causes it.
And also, being, you know, speaking of marriage, many people feel that they're social outcasts if they're not married. For instance, you're 20, 21, and you get married, and everybody said, oh, you're so terribly young, why did you get married? Now then you're 27, and you're not married, and everybody wants to know, you know, why you're not married, and you can't win. So people are forced people are forced to get married a lot of times for social acceptance, and I think that's why many people get divorced, because they feel the need to belong, and it is very important, and people don't like to trust themselves very much, and don't like to wait for the right person.
Including the local affiliates. We'll be right back with you. I just can't stand it to have Joe Williams around and not hear from him, so I asked him to go to work again. Joe?
And presto, there's that chemistry. I'm warmer than a whisper. I don't know what it is you do, but every time I'm close to you, I'm warmer than a whisper. On the outside, it could be December, winter just having its fling. But you've got me glowing like an ember, for here in your arms it's spring. And when you bring your lips to mine, I'm blushing like a valentine and sighing like a willow. And though it sounds a bit insane, I'm misty just like summer rain from above. If they ask me to explain the magic, the wonders your kisses perform, I'll only say it's always May, so let the winds get crisper. I'm warmer than a whisper, and all because you whisper all alone.
Looking good, Joe. Great. But listen, I just noted, Warmer Than a Whisper, right? The song about a girl. And all the men's songs are positive and worshipful, and all the girls' songs are, I was listing songs out there, He's not much to look at. He's just my Bill, an ordinary guy. He's nothing but I love him, right? All our songs are she's wonderful, wait till you see her, she's too good for me, the girl of my dreams, something to think about there. Here's a gift if you have any friends left.
You look at us like windmills.
Do I really?
We're windmills. You just the title of two songs, and it was kind of interesting because the very first two that you mentioned, women's songs for men, which you said were derogatorily worded, I find exactly the opposite. Which the one, he's just my Bill, and the other, he's not much to look at, is it?
Yeah.
Because each of them are love songs about loving a human being, which has nothing to do with the way he looks.
Yeah, but it's kind of like
what he is.
he's
And that's love.
he'll never be president, but
So what?
it's all right with me. Yeah.
Well, isn't that pretty
There,
good?
there goes the American image again. You have to be married to the best-looking fellow that went to Charles Atlas, and he's got to be tall and blonde and I don't know what. So here you love somebody that isn't like that, and then you end up having to apologize for the fact that he's not much to look at, but gee, I really love him. I mean, you force us.
But you're supposed to think he is. That's the thing. If there's ever gonna...
The best can be the best for you, and for everybody else may hate him.
No, but the song says he's not much to look at. I'll tell you. Here's
glad I'm living and happy to be.
Yeah.
What's the rest?
I already made a deal with life. Right? I made the best deal possible under the circumstances, which are why was I born? That's what I'm talking about.
You think marriage is a compromise?
Well, it is for women because they approach it like brokers.
Of course it is. Besides which, it's the man who wants to marry much more than the woman.
It is?
A man invented
Is that what you
marriage.
found?
It was invented by the Chinese. Really? Certainly.
Marriage was invented by the Chinese?
Exactly.
The nationalist Chinese.
No.
We won't send them money unless they... Is that true?
No, do you think marriage is a man's institution?
I don't know where it was invented, frankly.
Oh.
It makes no difference to me. I'd like to know who said that men were superior. I mean, who made the law that made men superior? Now, somebody, someplace in history, must have said, and I'm sure it was a man who arbitrarily said that we're the best, right? No. Because there is no law.
The lion is the king of the jungle. In the same sense, laws
I'm willing to say that men are superior, but I don't think it necessarily follows that women are inferior.
Yeah, but monogamy's a joke anyway because everybody excuses divorce. It's like one at a time is what they're saying. They're not saying one.
Not everybody. You lose perspective by living in a big city. It's not true.
But there is something else that in America, everyone always thinks that it's the girl who chases the man. In other words, every time, let's say, people I know in the theater, out of the theater, a couple breaks up for one reason or another, let's say, just before getting married, and everyone says, that poor girl, isn't that terrible? He wouldn't marry her. And then suddenly you're very shocked when someone says to you, oh, she's the one who didn't want to get married. And people say, how can that be, that she didn't want to get married? Any girl should jump at marriage, no matter who with, whether she loves them.
Earlier,
You know, which is a complete falsehood.
Yeah, but like, that's where they're going, isn't it? Why shouldn't they?
Why
What
shouldn't
else are they going to do? That's my point. Yeah. What else are they going to do? I mean, what's the grand destiny? You know, what's the verification of womanhood except a guy?
Yeah,
right?
but what's the grand destiny of 4 or 5 divorces, too? I mean, that in that sense, marriage can just become legalized immorality. I don't know. It seems
Well, yeah, there's that. That's that thing, you know, one at a time. But nobody tells the truth anyway. We were talking about that last night. Because it suddenly becomes legal. It starts in the church and it ends in a courtroom. You know, and the church is a little more ethereal about the reasons for getting together. Mental cruelty. We're going away so that the people out...
What's left?
Well, there's one thing you can say about me. I face my problems. And I'm glad we got these typical American housewives in the Midwest together tonight. That's what happened in Toronto once. Marlene Dietrich went on the air, and she said that the critics gave her a bad time up there with the show she was doing. And she said, you're a bunch of squares, and women don't have any taste here. So then a Toronto television station got a typical Toronto housewife to go on a state to rebuttal, Gina, Lola, Brigida. So those are our values.
I was just saying, this panel is also adorable. There's no way to fight with them, I don't think. They look good. I'm sorry, that's the way
What about that band?
No, really. I don't think there's any basic quarrel. I think the discussion is interesting, and I think that only one or two points that were
Something
touched on.
Inger said in the very beginning reminds me of something that Oscar Wilde once said when he was said somebody asked him what the difference was between men and women. He said, all men want a woman to be their first. No, all men want to be a woman's first love, and all women want to be a man's last romance.
That's right.
Who said this?
Oscar Wilde. Well, that's beside the point.
I didn't say anything. He was very talented and safe. I want to thank you, Susan, Suzy, Inger. Good luck with the show tomorrow in Chicago. Felicia, Jerry, thank you very much. I really dug it. Tomorrow night we'll have Jimmy Darren, Susan Barrett, Professor Paul Weiss, who will grade all of you in the audience. And he's from Yale, where Bill Buckley comes from, author of God and Man at Yale. We couldn't have God, so we're having Professor Paul Weiss. And the secretary to the astronauts, who happens to be a career girl, Nancy Lowe. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow
This program was recorded early.